Go ahead and open your Bibles to 2 Kings chapter 6. 2 Kings chapter 6. Now as we get to 2 Kings chapter 6, Elijah and Israel are talking about taking a little bit of a trip and setting up camp down in Jordan. And they all gather together and they decide they're going to head down there, cut some trees down and build some things there. Or as they're getting ready to go, Elijah sends them on down there. They beckon Elijah and say, hey, why don't you come with us and help us get all this going? So they head down there. Verse 4, 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 4. So he went with them, and when they came to Jordan, they cut down wood. Verse 5, but as one was felling a beam, the axe head fell into the water, and he cried and said, alas, master, for it was borrowed. Now, it's an interesting little point to this verse that caught my attention. He was really heavily concerned about keeping this equipment that he had borrowed from someone else in good shape and secure. So he was really upset, not about his own failings or his own mishaps, but he was actually concerned with someone else's property, and that's a good thing. So he's not crying out, he's not getting upset, he's not getting worried about his own life or his own problems. I mean, the amount of times that most people, as they work through their daily lives and they encounter obstacles or they encounter complications in their walk, it's usually for their own benefit or because of their own life. When you think about the amount of times that you have your car breaks down or something in the house breaks, and you start getting upset, how am I going to replace this? How am I going to fix this? This wasn't even the case with him. He wasn't even worried about his own things. He was actually worried about something that belonged to someone else. So that's a good thing that he was worried about, but he's crying out and concerned. And then Elijah comes about in verse 6, and the man of God says, where fell it? And he showed him the place, and he cut down a stick and cast it in thither, and the iron did swim. Therefore said he, take it up to thee. And he put out his hand and he took it. So this man's chopping these trees down, felling a beam. The axe head comes off the axe and falls in the water. The man gets concerned. How am I going to take care of this? How am I going to get this axe back? How am I going to return this property that belongs to someone else? So he cries out and he sees this man of God and he cries out to him. And the man of God, instead of getting upset or worried, he just cuts down a stick, throws the stick in the water, and the axe head swims over to the stick and repairs the entire problem. And the man reaches in and picks it up and everything's good. I ask you this morning, are you the man crying out about the failings in your life, about the complications or the problems? Or are you the man of God, grabbing anything around you and knowing that God can use anything to fix everything? That's what happened with Elijah. He saw somebody else struggling in their walk, and he grabbed anything around him and said, this will be sufficient. This will do. God can use this stick to fix any problem. That's the path that you should strive to be on. Being that man that trusts that no matter what the problem is, no matter how feeble the devices you have to fix it are, God can solve the problem. And if you know, he didn't even ask God. He already knew. God has it fixed. Right when the problem was presented, he didn't say, well, let me grab this stick and I'm going to ask God, Lord, would you be willing to use this feeble stick to solve this problem? No! He knew God had it fixed. And he knew that God would fix it with anything. In Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 3, the Bible says, commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. If you've committed what you're doing to God, whatever that is, chopping wood, if you've committed that to God, then your very thoughts will be established. That means God will have you so secure, you don't even need to bring it to Him. You don't even need to call out to Him. He's already got it fixed. Just trust God. That chapter continues in 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 8. Then the king of Syria warred against Israel, and took counsel with his servants, saying, in such and such a place shall be my camp. So he gathers together, the king of Syria gathers together his council, he gets all his men together, and he says, listen, we're going to attack Israel, and this is how we're going to do it. We're going to set up camp over here, and we're going to be waiting, and we're going to be ready, and we're going to get all this stuff taken care of. The problem with that plan was that Elijah warned the king of Israel about the Syrian plans. And when the king of Syria realized that somebody was telling Israel what was going on, somebody was telling them what they were trying to do, he got upset and he wanted to know who was telling Israel what my plans are. And he starts inquiring, is this person doing it? Or who's spilling the beans? Who's telling them our plans? And then down in verse 12, one of his servants, 2 Kings chapter 6 and verse 12, and one of his servants said, none, my lord, O king, but Elijah, the prophet that is in Israel, telleth the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. He says that this man of God is down there. He knows what you're saying in secret. That's how Israel's finding out what we're planning. Because of this prophet of God. So down in verse 14, the Bible says the king of Syria decides he's going to take care of this Elijah dude. 2 Kings chapter 6 and verse 14, therefore sent he thither horses and chariots and a great host, and they came by night and compassed the city about. And when the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, a host compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, alas, my master, how shall we do? That might be one of my favorite sayings. How shall we do? That covers everything. How shall we handle this? Where shall we go? What shall we do? Literally everything. How shall we do? I'm going to get a shirt made that says that. How shall we do? He's like, everything's going wrong. And I don't know. That's literally, he just gives a, Lord, we're surrounded. Everything's falling apart. And I don't know. But then, Elijah, a faithful servant of God, all of his faith and trust in God, he answered, fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. In Romans 8:31 it says, what shall we then say to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? It doesn't matter what things look like to you. It doesn't matter if you're laboring and working hard and the axe head flies off. It doesn't matter if chariots surround the city you're in. It doesn't matter if your government is corrupt and lost their flipping minds. It does not matter what it looks like to you from your perspective. God sees what you don't. And God always has a plan in place for those that are trusting Him. Your faith and trust in God, He always has it worked out for you. Verse 17. Now Elijah tells this servant of his, don't be afraid. God's on our side. In verse 17, Elijah prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. I mean, that's an amazing prayer to pray right there. Because there will be occasions when things are compassing about you or your family or your friends or our country or anything. And there are going to be people that are afraid. They'll see what things from their perspective, they'll see what looks like a hopeless situation. And they'll be afraid. And it'll be a good thing for you to say, fear not. God's on our side. But that may not be enough to comfort them. And that prayer may be the prayer you should be praying. Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. Because he wanted his servant to have peace. He understood. He didn't just say, stop your little complaining and whining. Stop being so afraid. Don't you know God has this? He had sympathy. He understood. Well, I see what you see. I see what it looks like. And because I understand that God's got this plan, that God's got things in control, I also understand maybe you're afraid. Maybe your flesh is getting in the way. Maybe it's getting hard for you to see with all of the obstacles this world's presenting. So he prays and says, Lord, I pray that you open his eyes that he may see. And when we faithfully pray, the Bible says in James, the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. When you faithfully pray, the Lord answers. Just like here, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man. And he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elijah. Man, he said, I've got armies compassed about Elijah. You're walking with that man that put his trust and faith in me. And you know what he showed that servant? That servant wasn't trusting God. That servant's faith was not in the Lord. He saw these hosts of Syria coming about them, threatening to destroy them, and he got fearful because in his faith and trust was in him. But because he walked with that man of God, and that man of God, because Elijah's faith was in the Lord, he was protected as well. Man, as we sit in a day and an age where everything might look frightening and everything may look scary, it may look like everything's falling apart, just that one man putting their trust in God can keep all of those fearful souls about him safe. Because compassed about Elijah was a host full of horses and chariots of fire set to protect him. The Bible says in Psalms 91:11, for he shall give his angels charge over thee to keep thee in all thy ways. Elijah wasn't worried. He didn't care how many soldiers they had. He didn't care how many chariots they had. He didn't care what strength and numbers and weapons they had. And he didn't care that all the stories and all the appearance and perception was that they were in control. He knew God was on his side. What shall he say to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? So Elijah prayed, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord opened his eyes. In Ephesians chapter 1, beginning at verse 17, that the God of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of glory, may give unto you the spirit of wisdom and revelation and the knowledge of him, the eyes of your understanding being enlightened, that ye may know what is the hope of his calling, and what the riches of his glory, of his inheritance in the saints, and what is the exceeding greatness of his power to usward who believe. You see how you threw that at the end there? He'll open your eyes. He'll give you wisdom and revelation and knowledge. He'll give you understanding. He'll let you see to the extent of his power and how much of that he gives us and puts about us to usward who believe. You see, you have to actually put your trust in God. That's how you get past. That's how you get through these days and these ages and these situations to where things seem hopeless. Whether it be you're failing a beam and the axe head falls off and you don't know how you're going to fix this problem that you've got in front of you. Or whether it seems like your entire country has turned against you and the entire world is set to destroy you. It does not matter their strength, their numbers, their equipment, their means, their propaganda. None of it matters. If you have trusted in God and you believe, God has everything under control. 2 Kings chapter 6 verse 18. When they came down to him, Elijah prayed unto the Lord and said, smite this people, I pray thee, with blindness. And he smote them with blindness according to the word of Elijah. You see, something that Elijah understood is that you ask of God and you trust in God and he grants you. Mark 11:24 says, therefore I say unto you, what things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. The Bible says, what things soever. And it doesn't say what things soever you need. It doesn't say what things soever that God decides is suitable. It doesn't say what things soever was probably the best. It literally says, what things soever ye desire. You want to see that axe head climb up out of the water and swim over to a stick, repair itself so you can keep working, so that you can return the tool that you borrowed? Believe. You want to see a country that looks like it's gone crazy and turned completely against God? You want to see that country fixed and healed? Believe. What thing soever ye desire. God literally made certain that anything needed, any path you want open, any opportunity you want presented, any battle you seek to win, you simply need to trust him. Just believe. There's no laboring, there's no secret to it other than literally believe what the Bible tells you. Believe that God has told you the truth. And it's that simple. Believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. And that doesn't matter if you have an army compassed about you, and you need to rely on God to fight that battle. And it doesn't matter if it's as simple as the axe head fell off. Just believe.